Hello, everyone, and a big welcome to the FRM family. I hope all of you had a great Thanksgiving and were able to hit the ground running this week with all the stuff that you have going on. I am Cassidy Ford, and I am FRM Solutions Client Success Manager. And this week, we are going to be taking a look at franchise sales and candidate gateway. I don't know how many of you really remember my background and how I came to be at FRM, but I used to be a client and I use this day in and day out from the franchise sales and resales perspective. So I have a bit of a unique take from the technical side as well as the franchise side about how to use this to the best of our ability. And I've talked to a lot of you guys and a lot of different clients about the ways that you guys are using the system. And I have a lot of things that I kind of want to present to you today from the point of view of best practices and some tips and tricks. So most of you are already taking advantage of our sales solution, but I do want to dig a bit deeper into some details and some of those things that will help you use the tool just even a little bit better. We talked last week about the dashboards as a starting point, and that is exactly where I want to pick up and start today with the sales module. Now, when we are thinking about the concept of FRM, we approach this as a complete life cycle management, and that might be a term that you've heard me use before. But complete life cycle management in the sense that we help you manage that relationship with your franchisee or potential franchisee from the moment they first contact you to the moment that they retire and sell their store or sell their franchise. And that is why we really like to have this starting point with the franchise sales solution, because this is where you start to build that narrative. This is where you start to build that relationship and really introduce them to the concept and to what they should be expecting moving forward. The dashboard that you have in front of you, I do want to just point out as a reminder that one of our upcoming webinars will include a training session specifically about building personal dashboards and views. I know that a lot of you already have some of these dashboards and views built out and you're already using them. But for those of you that are not currently utilizing a personal dashboard, I really encourage you to look into what you could do with that tool to be able to look at the information that you particularly for your brand need to see at the beginning of the day when you sit down and get started working. Now then, when I mentioned that this idea of this relationship with our franchisees, I am going to look at two different dashboards today. One of them is going to be this personal sales dashboard that you see. This is completely out of the box, so everybody's going to have this dashboard. The second dashboard is going to be something that's more of a high-level view, and this might be something that a VP, a director, a manager is going to want to look at to see, okay, this is the progress that we're making for the quarter. This is the activity that's going on, and that's also something that is out of the box. Everyone's going to have that. And those are two things that you might be able to build off of if you find that there's some additional information that you want to track. All of that is customizable. The personal sales dashboard is where I, as a client, I created my own custom view on this. Just a little bit, I tweaked it just a little bit because I wanted to be able to see, okay, who's coming in and like my newest lead, and then in a descending order. This might be an idea for you. I like to see, okay, these are the brand new people that I haven't contacted yet, and then I want to see what's the last activity date and who is it that I haven't followed up with in a week, and those are the next ones on my list. And then I work down my list until I get to everyone who's been contacted today or as of yesterday. And then I'll show you when we dive into this lead record in just a second, I'll show you how you can actually, based on those the last activity dates, say, okay, I need to schedule out another call a week from now. Schedule yourself an appointment or a task as a reminder. So all of this information is going to work together, and this is your starting point just to see it right in front of you. As another reminder, for those of you who might be going through some refresher training, who have come on board recently and not actually gone through training yet, we have a glossary here of leads and opportunities. Leads are going to be those people that have come in. You'll see these here, my open leads. All of those people, all of those candidates are going to be in the very first stages of your sales process, and everybody's going to have a different sales process. Your sales stages are going to look a little bit different than what we have here in our demo environment. But once those initial leads are qualified, then they will become opportunities. And those opportunities are going to be the candidates that are working through the latter stages of the sales process. You can see here, these were created much longer ago. Now then, this dashboard, the third part of this dashboard is going to be recent gateway activities. I know that a lot of you, or most of you, are all using the sales solution, but not everyone is up to date on the candidate gateway. Today we will look at that. We're going to look at something that is just a basic configuration of what this candidate gateway could look like for you. It's just a new take on the old idea of a virtual brochure that is in kind of a modern format of a website, password protected environment where your candidate can come and walk through the stages of your sales process in a way that helps you control the narrative, helps you build that relationship. This section down here at the bottom of the dashboard is going to be where you can actually track some of the pages that your candidates are visiting on the gateway. Now, if I come in the morning and I see that Gary Matthews has logged into the gateway 3 times, or that Brock has been on the application page, these are people I know that I need to keep an eye on or I need to contact because they've been engaging with the process. So this is what we're talking about when we see this personal sales dashboard. Now, if I come up here, we may have something that is a sales management dashboard. This probably won't be full of data. So you see some of these dashboards, we don't have full data in our system based on our demos, but you will be able to see that you can track all the FDDs you've had sent and signed, all of the opportunities that have been closed by your sales reps. You may have something in here of projected revenue by the end of the year based on franchise fees, how many deals that you might be planning on closing by the end of the year. And that's all something that is going to be based on the information that you have in your system. Now then, there are some other dashboards, for example, for sales. Most of our dashboards and reports are geared towards the sales solutions. This FDD, this could be used by your compliance team as well if they're tracking FDDs for renewals. We'll talk today about the FDD e-signature process. This is a tracking mechanism for you and kind of a graphical format to help you just see if there's any holes. Are you sending things that aren't getting signed? What's the holdup in the sales process? Why can't I get this person to respond to me? All of these are going to be ways that you can monitor at a high level what's going on in your sales process. So these are those dashboards, again, that you'll be able to kind of build off or just use straight out of the box for anything that you might want to be able to just see right in front of you. Now then, I want to go back. Something that you may use and may not use, I kind of use it half and half. This right here is a recent button. If I click this button, I can see everything that I've been looking at recently, and I want to go back to the personal sales dashboard. One thing that is really important for you guys is that you can actually you can create what you want your home page to be, and you can pin a dashboard to that home page. That means that if you are on the franchise development team or franchise sales team and you don't want to go directly to FIM when you log in, all you have to do is set franchise sales as your home page. And then if you have a dashboard that you use consistently on a daily basis, you can pin that dashboard as your default dashboard. All you have to do is come up here, you go to the settings, the cogwheel here, and then you go to options. Once you're here in options, it's the very first thing that you see at the top. Select your home page and settings for get started panes. Your default pane is franchise sales. You can choose which pane you want to be your default. And then default tab is dashboards. If I have dashboards here, I'll click OK here and I'll have saved that. And then I can, let's say I want to choose FDDs as my default. I just hit set as default. And when I go to, let's see if I go here to franchise sales, if I click here, if I'm just logging in is when it's going to do it, but it'll take you directly to your default dashboard. So here I just hit dashboards and it automatically goes to FDDs. Now I'm going to reset it because I really like this personal sales dashboard. I'm going to make sure that this is going to be my default dashboard. Let's dive into the lead records a little bit. I will start out, let's look at Mary Browning. She's come in. One thing that I think is important for everyone to remember is that all of the information, you guys might be getting information from a lot of different lead capture forms, which a lead capture form is going to be any of those forms that you have online on your website. You might have something that they're filling out on a pay-per-click ad or something that they're filling out on FranchiseGator or any of those franchise portals. In those forms, the information in those forms is sent back to us through a parsing email. I have talked to several clients lately who've put in support tickets because they're not getting their leads. And the reason that they're not getting their leads is because they've actually made some changes to those forms, but we didn't know about those changes. So it's really important for you guys to know that whenever you make changes to those lead capture forms, just submit a support ticket to us so we can make the changes on the back end to ensure that you're getting your leads. We had one person call in, they were missing about 100 leads because they changed a lead capture form a month ago and they didn't catch that those weren't coming in. So really important detail just to remember to let us know through a support ticket if you're going to change any of those forms. Very easy for us to make that change on the back end. Now then, all of that information that's coming into us immediately shows up in your lead record. You're going to get whoever your point person is that it's assigned to is going to get an email that it says, hey, a new lead has come in. And you can come in here, Mary Browning, all of her general information is here. Again, now you have the first few steps in your sales process. One thing that I've noted that is actually really helpful that I think is contributing to a lot of success for some of our franchisors is they might have new and contacted here, but maybe they have one that says attempted to contact or attempting to contact to, so that there's kind of a middle stage there, because you might be in the process of trying to get a hold of someone in this very first step. And you can have that demarcation there that they aren't just new, but they have been engaged in this process of trying to contact them. That also helps you understand that they may have received some auto reply emails. Now then, these stages here, and it's probably more applicable when we get to an opportunity, which we'll talk about, but these stages can be combined with a trigger that if you change a stage, then it can send out a particular email or it can trigger a drip campaign. Almost all of you, and I'm going to assume 100% of you, whenever a lead comes in, we set this up for you during implementation, but all of you are going to have an auto reply email that's going out to your leads when they first contact you. In that auto reply email, something that is coming in our pipeline for our future webinars is that we have invited some of our industry colleagues and some of our other franchisors to come talk to you and talk to us about what are some of the things that they see happening, and some of the people that they're working for, some of the franchisors they're working with, about the kind of information that's being sent out when someone, applies for information. What is that first communication? What are the leads? What is that first interaction that you're seeing or that your lead is having with your brand? And then talking to us, how is it that we can help you facilitate that communication? What does that process need to look like? What kind of drip campaigns do you want to build? We will be having, like I said, a training session or part of a training session coming up in the future where we will be talking about drip campaigns and email templates. For now, we do on our YouTube channel have 3 short training videos on building an HTML template, building an email template, and creating a drip campaign, which I encourage you to go check out. But that being said, these emails that are going out are going to be really important for you to maintain contact and kind of shape how that candidate is going to be walking through the sales process. All of your communications, this is something that you'll be familiar with as the activity feed. I don't know if all of you are using all of the different, actions or all the different things that you can do in the activity feed. One of the major kind of tools that I don't know if all of you are engaging in is this ability not only to send emails, to create appointments, or to create a task, but the SMS feature. SMS messaging, as we all know, is something that is a major advancement and trend in the franchising industry about the way that our candidates are operating. Me, myself, by the way, if you ever need to get a hold of me, the best way to get a hold of me is through a text message. That's just how I operate. That's how so many people operate. And those brands, those of you who are utilizing this SMS messaging tactic, we see that the response rates and times are a lot higher, and the success rate of those communications is a lot higher when you're engaging in that. And so we have partnered up with third-party providers such as Twilio and Text Request. We do have an open API, which means that if anybody that you're working with, if they also have an open API and they're able and willing to talk to us about an integration, we can explore that, including this SMS function. And so that's a really cool thing. The other thing that we've talked about in the past, I will also kind of talk about this probably every time that we get on a webinar, is if you guys are PC and Outlook users, you do have the ability to use our Outlook plugin, which is going to keep a full record of all of your incoming and outgoing emails in Outlook. And in FRM, you can also keep a full record of all of your tasks and appointments in both places. When I was using this on the client side, this is something that really saved my tail a lot of different times, because we know it all happens. You have a lead, you have someone coming in, you have an opportunity, you get to the end of the sales process and they say, hey, you offered me a $10,000 discount on my franchise fee, and you just come back to this record and say, hey, sorry, it was $5,000, or whatever that conversation needs to be. I won't go into detail on showing you how to do all of these, except for one thing. If you want to send an email, there are some ways that you can just come in here and type a one-off email, or you can actually insert a template. Let's say you have a very common conversation of, hey, I called you, I'm sorry I missed you, I'll call you again in 2 days. Maybe that's something that you send to all of your initial reach outs. You can create a template, watch that video on YouTube to learn how to do that, select the template, and it's going to autofill this email, and all you have to do is hit send. If you're not quite ready to send that email, hit save. I'm going to get out of of this window. It's going to ask me if I want to save my changes. I do not. And let's see if I can get this to work. I want to show you. Okay, perfect. Now then, you may or may not be getting a warning when you log in. It says pending email warning. All this is, there's nothing wrong, but this is actually kind of a fail-safe for you to know, hey, you have some emails that you drafted, but you have not sent them yet, and you may want to go check that out. It's like saying something's in your outbox, and you need to go check on it. So I'm going to hit close. The way that I find those emails, if I'm in franchise sales, for example, I click the down arrow next to the menu item here, and there is an option for activities. For those of you who are managers, who are kind of in management positions, this is going to be a great way for you also to be able to see, hey, what's my activity rate? What are my representatives working on? What kind of emails are going out? I can look at all of that. I will just go up here to the filter. I will look for my emails, and at this point in time, we're looking for pending emails. Now I can see that Diana Vasquez has a pending email that hasn't been sent, and I can just open it up, and I can send that email. I wanted to show you that just because I've gotten a couple of questions lately about what that message means. And it's a very common message that you might be receiving, and it helps kind of streamline that communication so that you don't miss anything. The last little bit about this lead record is the beginning places where you're going to start really tracking that important qualification information. When you set this up, and some of you might be in a place, if you've been using FRM for a long time, and you might have a lot of different sources over the years that you've created source campaigns, and you find yourself in a place that you really want to clean those up, give me a call. I'm happy to spend some time to sit down with you. We can have a short consulting session, 30 minutes if you want. We can sit down and take a look at what you're using. Do we need to deactivate any of these things? Do we need to get rid of anything? Do we need to add anything? And really be able to kind of clean up some of your reporting and allow you to track this stuff a little bit better, because it happens to everyone if you've been using the platform long enough. And you know, all of this is something that either is going to be automated, created, or you can fill in. It might already be filled in from your lead capture form. The last little bit of this is that we use this map. This is a proprietary Bing map that we've developed. If you have someone come in, let's say that you have someone who is in Ottawa proper, and you would kind of, there's a template that you guys can fill out that has all of your locations. There's color-coded push pins that, okay, someone comes in, we would have a push pin here that's red for an existing location. We know we just need to check this out. It's not a mapping tool. It's not anything that's going to be about drawing radiuses or anything. It's just something for your qualifier to be able to see, hey, let me take a look at this and maybe suggest another location out of the gate, so that you don't kind of get in a sticky situation, which we have all experienced at one time or another. And then obviously all of these are going to help you manage some of those basic qualifications. Down here is the pre-questionnaire. None of you have this yet. Pre-questionnaire, I will dive into a little bit more in just a minute, but it is the idea of sort of a mini application. The mini application being something that a lot of you are using that is kind of a halfway step between filling out the lead capture and filling out a full application. Maybe you just grab their information at the outset. You've talked to them a little bit when you have your first contact with them, but let's say there's some character questions that you have or personality questions. How do you address a certain employee situation? Let's say you have a 10-question questionnaire. We've developed a way in order for you to gather that information, map it to the lead record, and you can do all of that without having to log into the candidate gateway. And I'll explain how all of that works when we get to talking about the candidate gateway. All of this is everything that you're going to see in the lead records. And the last thing that I wanted to show you is more of a best practice. Up at the top, you have qualify, place on hold, or disqualify. Many of you are only using qualify and disqualify. What that means is that you're either sending someone to be an opportunity or you're saying, I never want to talk to you again. That's what disqualify means. Disqualify should really only be used for the people that are seeking employment, for those of you, or for those candidates who are, maybe they were really rude to you on the phone. Maybe you were never able to contact them. Maybe they're in a territory that you're not going to. People you never want to talk to again would be disqualified. But if you place someone on hold, what that means is that you're going to be able to provide them with a disposition. This disposition is important because let's say you have a drip campaign that you have developed and built, and let's say someone's timing isn't quite right. Well, based on this particular disposition, you can continue to reach out, let's say over a 6-month timeline, 3-month timeline, to this person and just remind them that you're still there. You want to be a part of their franchise journey when the time is right. And you can build a drip campaign around all of the leads that you have on hold, but you can't do that for the leads that you disqualify. Something really important that I don't know that all of you are aware of. We're going to save and close and get out of Mary Browning, and I want to go back to our opportunities. Let's take a look at Gary Matthews. I have a backstory for Gary Matthews, which is completely ridiculous, but I met him at the airport in Charlotte, North Carolina. And we had a full conversation in the Delta Sky Club, or we sat there, and this is how I met Gary. So I like to kind of be familiar with my demo opportunities here. But Gary has been through several stages of our sales process by now. And you'll see that right now, let's say that I've sent him an FDD. I can change these. These are going to be specific to your, certain licensing system. All of these stages are going to be customized to you. And these can be changed. So let's say that you guys have been using FRM for 4 years now. And last year you had a new CDO come on board and you guys revamped your sales program, and not all of these stages really match up to what you're doing now. It's something that we encounter frequently. You need to evolve and you need to be, up to date and using the best kind of tactics and strategies, what we're using now. And you can evolve with the system as well. We can change these for you. Another thing that I am happy to do is to sit down with you and not only talk to you about the sales stages, anything like this that you, or the sources or anything like that, anything like this that you feel like maybe we need to kind of get up to speed with some of our new processes. That's what I'm here for. I'm happy to sit down and do that. Just let me know. But you're looking now at the opportunity record. All of the information that you had in the lead record is going to be mapped over to the opportunity record, including any notes that you might have had from that lead. So let's say a qualifier is working on the lead, they qualify it, and it gets assigned to a sales director, and now they're working on this. They can see all of the notes from the qualifier. We will get down to something new in the opportunity record, which is the forecast information. Forecasting is going to be one of the most important things, if not the most important thing that you guys do to make sure that you're measuring the success of your program for the year and for the years to come. This is the starting point for all of that information. You can start to anticipate the amount of revenue based on franchise fees you might bring in for the year. The estimated closing date is a place where you would be able to forecast how many deals you're planning on closing before the end of the year. And then all of this information is going to feed into your reporting. And I want to take a moment and just show you what some of those reports out of the box look like. We'll start with maybe a simpler report. Let's say I want to look at a sales pivot report. This particular one is showing me my lead source versus my stage. So what is my general lead source? How many of those leads have I gotten in a certain period of time, which I am able to choose up here when I run the report, which I'll show you how to do that. And then how far have they gotten in my process? The same type of report can be pulled for source campaign versus stage. So you may have some more granular actual campaigns that you're running or people that you're partnering with, and it's going to give you the same information down to how many deals have been won per source. Let's say that you really want to break down for a longer period of time, or in percentages, how are these particular lead sources performing? This is what we call our campaign metrics report. It's one of the more complicated reports we have in our toolbox, and it's going to break down each of these categories so that you can take a comprehensive look at what's going on and what those metrics look like for you over that particular polling period. We have number of leads here. We have number of applications that have come through, number of won deals based on each of those lead sources or source campaigns, number of lost deals. This is something that if you're not tracking won and lost, it seems really silly, but some people are just tracking the deals that they've won. But it's almost more important to be tracking the deals that you've lost and why and where they're coming from, because those are your wasted opportunities, and that's where you're spending the time and resources that are not allowing you to close the deals that you could be closing. Finally, one thing that is a very unique kind of opportunity for you to be taking advantage of is tracking your marketing spend. This is something that would be a manual process for you, but whenever you set up your campaigns, what you can do is assign the amount that you're spending dollar-wise to that campaign. We will do the calculations, and it will just at the end of the day spit out a number of what you're spending total and what your cost per lead is. You can kind of ixnay all those Excel spreadsheets that you're using right now. If you're using brokers, you'll have total commission. And then down at the bottom now, we have a really good average cost per one deal at $651.81. But this is going to spit out realistic data based on what you guys are entering into the system. That's our campaign metrics report. If you are looking at this from a sales performance perspective, this is another type of report that is a graphical, a line graph report that really, this is kind of a fun one because you can take the information and give it to your team. You can even put this on a dashboard. Give it to your team and they will see, oh, this person's performing better than I am. I better step up my game because I want to beat them at the end of the year and get that bonus. This is a really simple way. They look at a line and they say, hey, got to step it up. These graph reports can also be shown in a table format. It's just a second page or a second sheet on that Excel workbook. Same type of graph can be done for sales performance by lead source instead of representative. This is the same kind of thing that you're seeing in a different format on that campaign metrics report. So there's a lot of things that you can be doing reporting wise, and the way that you get there is very simple. Up on this down arrow next to franchise sales, just go to reports. It's going to ask me if I want to save my changes. I do not. And all of these are out of the box reports that you can run. And you may have some special reports that you've developed over the years. This is another area where you may have developed a report 2 years ago that isn't quite tracking something. Maybe your executive team has decided to track 2 new metrics. We can talk to you, we can adjust those. Just submit a support ticket. If it's something where you really want to sit down and have a consulting session about what are the best ways to track and measure some of the things that you need, again, I'm available to sit down and do that with you. Okay, now then, the last thing when it comes to the leads and opportunities that I wanted to show you, I'm going to go back to Gary Matthews. I'm using my recent button. I'll go back to Gary Matthews, and he, let's say, sent me a bio for Discovery Day, and I want to save that bio. There is a SharePoint document library that is available in each of the five record types: lead, opportunity, location, contact, and company. Now we're in opportunity, so I would just click on this documents tab and I can save his bio there. Maybe it's an NDA, maybe it's something like that. And I can save all that information. The last thing is the FDD. Now then, we saw here that there were key dates involved with this opportunity record. And some of these are automated, some of these are manual. These are customizable to you. Again, if you guys have adjusted any of these key dates, talk to us. We can look at this with you. But FDD is one of these, and you'll see sent date, signed date, and holding expiration date. We have partnered with Right Signature. I mentioned this on our last webinar. We have partnered with Right Signature in order to be able to provide an e-signature process. We do have documentation available on our resource page online. And coming next quarter, we will have a training video that will be available on our YouTube channel that goes in depth into how that process works. I'm going to walk through it very, very quickly. And all I would have to do, Gary Matthews is an opportunity. You can also send an FDD to a contact. Let's say they're already a franchisee and you are starting on a renewal. That's a very simple process. It's basically the same exact thing, but we're going to talk about an opportunity here. All I have to do is come up here and hit send document. In order to import the FDDs, you can have multiple FDDs. Let's say you're a multi-brand organization, or you might have some state-specific writers that you need to send. All of that is doable. We just ask that you submit a support ticket and send us a PDF copy of each of the FDDs that you want uploaded, along with a specific file name and title for that FDD. We'll take care of that for you. It's something that is a priority for us. If you are up against a filing deadline, because that is usually something that all of you are experiencing at once, we do want to make sure, and because it's something that a lot of times our team will set aside after hours to do immediately for you, if you can give us a week's heads up and then a day's heads up and when you anticipate sending us that FDD, that's what we would ask of you, so that we can get that done as quickly as possible for you and plan ahead. But we'll get those imported, and you see here, I have two in here. I have two brands, Anderson Roth and AR Fresh. And I am going, or here you see Anderson Roth and AR Fresh. I've picked my FDD and I just hit finish. I won't do it here because I did when I set it up earlier. It'll send an email to Gary, and it's going to look something like this. It's just a quick out-of-the-box email. It's going to walk Gary through the steps of the process of signing the FDD. All I have to do is follow the instructions. I'll hit this link, and it's gonna lead me to a page where I have 3 easy steps. The first step is to download the FDD. And that's what I will do here, download the document. And once I have that document downloaded, I would open it and read it, and then I would choose the file. And when I choose the file to upload, I am just going to go back to, and we have instructions if someone is using, let's say, a Mac or a PC, or not a Mac or a PC, but if they're using Chrome versus Explorer versus Mozilla, whatever it is. So I have gone through and I've chosen the file, and here it is. And I would just hit verify. So that's 1 step, 2 step. And you'll notice here, there's nothing down here because this is working on verifying that you've uploaded the correct document. In doing that, we make sure that this is 100% FTC compliant. They have to have said, I had the opportunity to read this correct document before they are given the opportunity to sign the item 23. One thing to notice is that right signature is going to show up to 150 pages of an FDD. If your FDD is over 150 pages, what is going to show in this window is your item 23. Now it's going to let me just scroll to the item 23. My printed name is Gary Matthews. Here I can sign, and I will put in today's date. Voila, I'm done. Now then, if I go back to Gary Matthews, you as a representative will get a copy of the, or not a copy, but you'll get an alert that the FDD has been signed in your email. I'm going to refresh the page, and now Gary has, and it's going to give me this pending email warning because I never sent that to Diana. Gary has already received an FDD. So those dates will update for someone who has not received the FDD. If I want to see all of the FDDs that he's been sent, I just go to e-signature documents. You see here's the original FDD that he received, and now then he's got a new one as of today. The other way that I can access my FDDs is up here, and if I want to see the overall pipeline, I just go to e-signature documents, and here are all the FDDs that I've sent and the dates and times of when they were downloaded, verified, and signed. There's more to this process that I won't walk through right now in the interest of time, but online on our resource page, like I said, there is an FDD management training guide. It's a short guide, and it'll show you how you can actually receive, download, store a signature certificate from Right Signature with all of this information, including the IP address on the device on which the FDD was signed. That is the core of how you would use and track leads and opportunities inside of FRM in the franchise sales solution. But that whole other piece that we've been talking about that is going to be the externally facing piece is Candidate Gateway. Now I want to go back. The cool thing about FRM is that you can kind of navigate wherever you want to go pretty quickly, either through the recent tab. You can search up here for what you want. Let's say I just want to look at a contact, or if I want to go into an opportunity. Oh, I got a question yesterday. This is kind of cool. Let me go to Gary Matthews' contact page for a second. You'll notice that I was able to upload a picture for Gary, which is kind of fun. I like this for sales reps. If you guys are kind of trying to get acquainted with your candidates, this is just a fun way for you to say, oh, here's Gary's contact, and this is what he looks like as a reminder. So someone asked me about that. You just click this little icon and you can upload a picture. It's fun. But let me go back, because what I want to do is I want to go to his opportunity. I'll click here. Here I am in his opportunity, and we have made a recent change, and I want to point this out. We've made a recent change. If you guys are sending out Candidate Gateway invitations, we have now revamped the invitation process, where you can use one button to send a candidate an invitation to the Candidate Gateway, and then later on the same button to send an invitation to a franchisee to the Franchisee Gateway. So Manage Gateway Access is what this button is going to say, and you have options about kind of what you want to do here. I've already sent him an invitation and he can log in, so I'll get out of that. It's going to ask me to have that fail-safe option. But now let's say I have seen that he's qualified. The idea of the Candidate Gateway is that once they get to a particular place in your process, that they would incrementally or all at once be able to experience the rest of your engagement, of your process, or their buying decision in an interactive format. The candidate gateway is you can only invite someone to the candidate gateway once they have been qualified as an opportunity. So this is where I want to step back and talk a little bit more about that pre-questionnaire that we discussed earlier. The pre-questionnaire, if you remember, you saw that section on the lead record. A lead in the past, you could not send. Let's go back to here. We're gonna go to Mary Browning. So in the past, a lead, there was no way for you to gather some additional information from them. You would have to qualify them first in order for them to fill out your initial application. Now, the same idea as the candidate gateway where they can go and fill out that initial application, you can do with a pre-questionnaire. So let's say your auto reply email goes out and it has a link to a web page. And that web page, for example, could look something like this. This does not have a pre-questionnaire on it, but you could design, this is in WordPress, it's something that would be connected to the candidate gateway, but does not require a username and password like the candidate gateway does, because you're not exchanging really sensitive information. The pre-questionnaire, as I mentioned before, could have maybe 10 questions on it. It could be anything like, what area are you interested in? Something that wasn't on the lead capture form, but isn't, you know, you may not be asking, oh, give me your full financial background. Something that's going to help you qualify that person as a person and maybe not as a number or figure. So the pre-questionnaire information will go back to the lead record, but then if you guys wanted to, all of this information that's down here for the pre-questionnaire can be mapped over to the opportunity record. So you will have all that information at your fingertips when you are considering, you know, the background qualifications for this candidate. Then let's say, okay, this person's qualified. You sent them the username and password so that they can log in. I'm going to log in again as Gary. It's going to take me just a second, but once I do log in, this is where you start that story building. And this can be designed, this is going to be in WordPress, and what we do is that we would go in and we would set up the framework for you. If you think about it like a house, we will build the foundation, put up the walls, and then you guys would go in and decorate those walls and furnish the house. Meaning we would build the sales stages for you, we would get the WordPress pages set up, and then we would connect it back to FRM. I'll explain how that works in just a second. I just want to note that we do have many of our franchisors who are working with their marketing partners to design this. We have some really spectacular examples of what people have been able to do with the candidate gateway, and it's something that really is very brand specific. This obviously is just for Anderson Roth, our fake steakhouse, and it's very basic, but you kind of get the idea of all the things that you can do with this. What you have in front of you is just the dashboard. This is where everyone would start, and there are two camps, I think, in franchising. One who says that, okay, we want to control every step of what you're doing, and it's really obviously going to depend on how your brand functions and what the character and kind of the type of brand you are. But some people want to control every step of the process. So now you see that these stages are locked, and each one of these, when someone, let's say a candidate gets and completes the webinar, and then they can schedule an FDD review and you'll send them the FDD, I can go in here and control those and open up depending on where someone is. The thing about this that's cool is that you can actually lock and unlock a step just by changing, like if we go back to Gary Matthews, just by changing one of these stages, I can actually lock and unlock this step in the franchisee gateway. As a tip and trick, I would only recommend doing that if you're very confident that those stages wouldn't be really kind of flipped back and forth at all, because that might get confusing for your candidate. If you have a very solid process, it's very standard, you're doing the same thing, you don't flip them back and forth, that's when I would recommend, having those automatic triggers in place. Now then, if I have a sophisticated buyer, this is that other camp. I think that there's this movement now toward kind of letting someone be flexible in their buying process and kind of letting them navigate and not kind of force feeding them of, okay, you need to be done in this 30, 60-day timeline. There are people, brands that works better for. If that's the case, let's say even if you did have a more sophisticated buyer that needs to, they're smart, they've been doing this, they have 150 units of another brand, you can come up here to the down arrow to the drop down menu next to Gary Matthews and find this candidate steps option. This is where you would lock and unlock those steps. I can hit them in bulk, and all I have to do is come down to unlock, and now all of the steps are unlocked. I'll go back to my dashboard and I'll refresh my page, and it's done in real time. So when this refreshes, what you'll see is that all of these different steps are accessible. Now then, let's dive into what you can do with these different steps. We just start out, and like I said, everybody does this differently. We just started out with an initial application. We do have an out-of-the-box application that's a very comprehensive application. It's something that we implement for everybody. If you're interested in a custom application, we can do that for you. It would be a premier support item, but we absolutely can go in there and build things. You can require any of these fields or not require them. Someone can save and come in and continue later. Whoever is building this for you, they actually can do things like you can have them submit additional documents to go along with it. So maybe they actually have a PFS. Maybe they have a PFS that you want submitted along with that application. You can do all of that right here. And you can do that because this is a password protected environment. This is something that may be asking for social security number or some sort of financial figures, and that's something that we want to keep secure for you. All right, so if I go back to the dashboard, you can see on that dashboard, we just have things like, if I go to franchise disclosure review, and this is something that you could say, okay, so let's schedule our review before you receive the FDD, and you could provide instructions. There's a little video that we're going to be making that's about a minute long. That's just going to be a repeat of those 3 steps in that email that they receive, so that they will be able to just play that video really quickly and have the instructions right there in front of them. You could put that in your candidate gateway. And then you can do things like, if I go back here, let's say discovery day, if you want them to schedule a discovery day. One thing that we have had, you can walk them through, okay, this is what you need to be doing at any given time. This is what your due diligence process, this is what should be happening right now. Discovery day, for example, let's say you want to provide them with a basic agenda, information about the airport or accommodations, who they're going to be meeting, what they're going to be doing. You can do that here. You can also have a button here. We have some franchisors that are engaging with Calendly and some set schedules so that they can just go online and schedule that discovery day. If there are, like maybe you have entity documents or something that they need to send in before they attend discovery day and you need to approve those, then they can do that through the candidate gateway. And what's going to happen is when those are submitted, they will show up in the notes section as an attachment. So they'll send in that document is just going to show up here in the notes section. So it's just going to be kept there on the opportunity record for you to have a record of. All of these things are just some basic examples of the types of things that you can do with Candidate Gateway. The reason why we think this is so important and why our clients who are engaging in this think this is so important and have seen measurable success is because we're past the days when you can just provide someone with information and you're in control of that process. We have seen the data where we know, I can't remember what the number is, but it's something like 80%, and maybe this could even be a couple of years old, but 80% of the people that you've talked to have spent X number of minutes or hours researching your brand before they ever even get into contact with you. And they know far more than what they'll probably let on that they know about your brand. And so your job is no longer to educate someone about your brand. I mean, that's always going to be part of it. But your job now is to make sure that they want your brand from the outset. That's not something that's toward the end of the process anymore. You want to make sure that they're engaging, that they have immediate communication, that they have all the tools that they need in order to make a faster decision, a more educated decision, and something that they're really going to be connected to before they ever even join your franchise team. So in the long run, you're going to have candidates, you're going to have new franchisees that are more bought into who you are and what you're doing than if you were just sitting on the phone. Maybe you had a kind of a static webinar that you're sending out, some franchise brochures. This is going to allow you to really communicate in a different way. With that, I'm going to leave that, and I'll just talk for a second. We do have CRM 9.0. It's coming soon. And this is going to allow you, let's say if I am just going to go back to my opportunities view. And one of the things that the new version of CRM or FRM is going to allow you to do is to actually edit a lead or opportunity in the view itself. So you don't necessarily have to open up this opportunity. You could actually just click on something here, change an email address, change a number, change a status or a stage. It's gonna really increase the amount of activity that you can do in a much shorter amount of time. This is just one of the improvements that you're gonna see along with some other features when we roll this out. I would love to see you at IFA. We're going to be scheduling some appointments to kind of talk about what's coming up at IFA. So if you're going to be there, please let myself or Stan Friedman know. We do want to sit down and have that conversation with you about what it looks like and how we can get you upgraded to the new version. So we continue to work on this and some other highly anticipated advancements throughout 2020. And I would just say stay tuned to our webinars for sneak peeks, demos, and further training sessions. I hope that you guys have a happy Wednesday, and we will see you after Christmas as we pick up FRM Presents in the new year. I just hope that you stay safe over the holidays. As always, you know where to find me if you need anything or have any further questions.